Harper froze as she stared at the little girl clinging to her leg in the middle of aisle 7. The child's brown eyes, those unmistakable brown eyes, looked up at her with pure recognition and joy. "Mommy," the girl whispered again, burying her face in Harper's jeans. And in that moment, Harper's carefully rebuilt world shattered into 1,000 pieces. Because 5 years ago, in a sterile hospital room with tears streaming down her face, Harper had signed away every legal right to this child. She'd chosen a closed adoption. No contact, no updates, no looking back. So how on earth did this little girl know her? If this story already has you hooked, smash that like button and subscribe to hear more incredible true stories. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. It was a typical Wednesday evening in suburban Charlotte, North Carolina. Harper had just finished her shift as a graphic designer at a small marketing firm. At 28, her life had finally found some semblance of stability. She had a decent apartment, a reliable car, and a job that paid the bills. The grocery store was her weekly ritual. Every Wednesday at 6:15, she'd methodically work through her list. That evening, she was standing in the cereal aisle when she heard small footsteps running toward her. Then those tiny arms wrapped around her leg with surprising strength, and that voice, so pure, so certain, said the word that would change everything. "Mommy!" Harper froze. Slowly, almost afraid of what she'd see, she looked down. The little girl couldn't have been more than 5 years old. She had wild, curly brown hair that fell past her shoulders and wore a purple dress with a unicorn on the front. But it was her eyes that made Harper's knees weak. Those warm, chocolate-brown eyes with flecks of gold. She'd only seen those eyes once before, in a hospital room 5 years ago, during the 47 seconds she'd allowed herself to hold her newborn daughter before handing her to the adoption coordinator. "Mommy, I found you," the little girl said, her voice filled with absolute delight. Harper's mouth opened, but no words came out. The adoption had been closed, sealed. The family who adopted her daughter had been anonymous. She'd chosen them specifically because they lived out of state. There should be no accidental meetings. "Sophia, Sophia, honey, come here right now." A woman's panicked voice cut through Harper's shock. Within seconds, a couple appeared at the end of the aisle, their faces flushed with worry. The woman was petite with sleek blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. The man was tall, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. They rushed toward Harper and the little girl, Sophia, with desperate speed. But as they got closer, something shifted in their expressions. The woman's face went pale. "I'm so sorry," the man said, reaching for Sophia's hand. "She just took off." He stopped mid-sentence, really looking at Harper for the first time. His eyes widened. Sophia tightened her grip on Harper's leg. "But she is my mommy," the little girl insisted. "I know her, I remember." The woman looked like she might faint. "Sweetheart, no, this is just a nice lady. Come here, baby." But Sophia shook her head. "No, Mama Marissa, I'm not confused. This is my other mommy, the one from before." Harper felt dizzy. She managed to lower herself into a crouch, bringing herself eye level with Sophia. Up close, she could see even more familiar features. The shape of her nose, the slight dimple in her left cheek. All features Harper saw every time she looked in a mirror. "Hi," Harper managed to whisper. "I'm Harper." "I know," Sophia said simply. She reached out and touched Harper's face. "You used to sing to me before I was born. I remember." The man cleared his throat. "I'm Ethan Caldwell. This is my wife, Marissa, and you've met our daughter, Sophia." He paused. "I think maybe we need to talk. There's a small seating area by the deli counter. Would you be willing to sit with us for a few minutes?" Harper should have said no. Should have run. But when she looked into Sophia's eyes, she found herself nodding. They settled into plastic chairs around a small table. Sophia immediately climbed into the chair next to Harper, scooting closer until their arms touched. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. "This is going to sound absolutely crazy, but Sophia has been talking about you, or someone like you, for months now." "What do you mean?" Harper asked. Marissa's voice was tight. About 6 months ago, Sophia started having these dreams. She'd wake up crying, saying she missed someone she called her first mommy. At first, we thought it was just a phase, but then she started drawing pictures. Pictures of what? Harper asked. Of a woman, Ethan continued. Always the same woman. Long dark hair, brown eyes, tall. She drew her over and over again. He pulled out his phone and showed Harper a child's drawing. The figure had long brown scribbles for hair and large brown circles for eyes. We took her to a child psychologist, Marissa said. Dr. Vincent Reeves, one of the best in Charlotte. He suggested it might be some kind of genetic memory, but nothing explained why she was so specific. Sophia suddenly looked up at Harper. You sang to me, the Sunshine Song, but different from how Mama Marissa sings it. You made it slower. And you always said my sunshine, my only sunshine 3 times instead of 2. The world tilted sideways. Harper gripped the table. Because Sophia was right. During her pregnancy, alone in her tiny studio apartment, Harper had sung that song every single night. It had been her mother's favorite, her mother who had died when Harper was 16. And yes, she'd always repeated that line 3 times. A family variation she'd never heard anywhere else. How could you possibly know that? Harper breathed. I told you, Sophia said. I remember from before. Marissa's face crumpled. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she looked at her daughter connected so naturally to a stranger. This can't be happening, she whispered. Harper began to shake. 5 years of carefully suppressed grief came flooding back. She remembered being 23 and pregnant, abandoned by her boyfriend Tyler Brennan the moment he heard the news. She remembered working double shifts, coming home to her empty apartment with swollen ankles and an aching back. She remembered the crushing weight of knowing she couldn't give her baby the life she deserved. I was alone, Harper heard herself saying. My mom died when I was 16. My dad was never in the picture. When I got pregnant, the baby's father wanted nothing to do with us. I was working 2 minimum-wage jobs in a studio apartment with broken heating. Tears streamed down her face. I wanted to keep her. God, I wanted to, but I couldn't give her what she needed. She looked at Marissa and Ethan. I saw your profile through the agency. You seemed perfect. Stable careers, a house with a yard. Everything I couldn't offer. So I chose you. And then I signed papers saying I'd never contact you, never interfere, for her sake. You held her? Sophia asked suddenly. In the hospital? Harper nodded, unable to speak. She'd held her daughter for 47 seconds. She'd counted each one. 47 seconds to memorize every detail. And then she'd handed her to the adoption coordinator and walked out with empty arms and a broken heart. I felt it, Sophia said quietly. I was safe. Then I was sad, but then I was safe again. She looked at Marissa. When you held me. The simple truth of it broke something in Marissa. She covered her face and sobbed. Ethan wrapped an arm around his wife's shoulders. After several minutes, Marissa lowered her hands. I need you to understand something, she said to Harper, her voice hoarse. We couldn't have biological children. We tried for 7 years. When we finally decided on adoption, Sophia was our miracle. She is our miracle. Her voice rose. I've been her mother for 5 years. I know every freckle on her body. I've sat with her through stomach bugs and nightmares. She's my daughter. I know, Harper said softly. I see how much you love her. But she knows you, Marissa continued. She recognized you. She knows things she shouldn't know. And what if she decides she wants you instead of me? The fear in Marissa's voice was palpable. Harper understood it. The fear of losing someone you love, of not being enough. Ethan spoke up. Harper, walking away from this, pretending it didn't happen. I don't think that's best for Sophia. She's been struggling lately, withdrawn at school. We've tried everything. And now, he gestured at Sophia, who was leaning contentedly against Harper's arm. Now she seems more at peace than she's been in months. They talked for over an hour. They discussed boundaries and concerns. They argued and cried and tentatively explored possibilities. Finally, they reached a fragile agreement. They would try supervised visits, once a month to start. Harper wouldn't be introduced as Sophia's birth mother. To Sophia, she would be Harper, a special friend. It was imperfect and complicated and terrifying. But as Harper finally stood to leave, Sophia wrapped her arms around Harper's waist and whispered, "I'm glad I found you again." And Harper whispered back, "Me too, sweetheart." The next 6 months were a careful dance. The first visit happened at a public park, with Ethan and Marissa watching as Harper and Sophia awkwardly attempted conversation. Harper brought a sketchbook and taught Sophia to draw simple animals. By the third visit, some awkwardness had faded. Sophia would run to hug Harper when she arrived and chatter about everything happening in her life. Harper learned about Sophia's love of mac and cheese and her dream of becoming a veterinarian who specialized in dragons. Marissa slowly began to relax. She saw that Harper never overstepped, never tried to replace her. If Sophia got hurt, she still ran to Marissa. The foundation of their bond remained unshaken. By month 4, Ethan invited Harper to Sophia's 6th birthday party. The party was at the Caldwell home, a beautiful colonial with a sprawling backyard. There were balloons and a bounce house and a dozen screaming children. Harper brought a modest gift, a journal with a purple cover. She watched from the periphery as Sophia opened presents and ate cake. At one point, Sophia grabbed Harper's hand, pulling her toward a group of kids. "This is my special friend Harper," she announced. "She's really good at drawing." The simple introduction made Harper's heart swell. No claims of being her mother, just acceptance of Harper's place in her life. Later, Harper helped Marissa clean up. They worked in silence before Marissa spoke. "She's been doing better," Marissa said quietly. "Her teacher says she's participating more in class. She seems happier." Harper smiled. "She's an amazing kid. You and Ethan have done an incredible job." Marissa paused. "I was so angry when this first happened, terrified. I thought you were going to take her from me. I would never." "I know," Marissa interrupted gently. "I know that now. You've been nothing but respectful. You've honored every boundary." She turned to face Harper. "Thank you for giving her to us 5 years ago, and thank you for coming back, even though it must hurt." The two women stood in that backyard, both mothers to the same child in different ways, and something shifted. Not friendship exactly, but mutual respect. An understanding that love for a child could be complicated and expansive and shared. 1 year after that shocking encounter, Harper found herself back in aisle 7. Wednesday evening, 6:15. She was debating between cereal brands when she heard familiar footsteps running toward her. This time, she was expecting it. They'd planned to meet here, a full circle moment. Sophia launched herself at Harper with a delighted squeal. "Harper, I got an A on my spelling test." "That's amazing." Harper scooped her up in a hug. Marissa and Ethan appeared moments later, smiling. They'd developed a routine now, monthly meetings that sometimes included just Harper and Sophia, sometimes all 4 of them. As they stood chatting about Sophia's achievements, Sophia looked up at Harper and Marissa, holding both their hands. "I'm lucky," she announced. "Why's that, sweetie?" Ethan asked. "Because I have lots of people who love me," Sophia said. She looked at Marissa. "Mama, you take care of me every day and make me feel safe." Then she looked at Harper. "And Harper, you gave me life and came back to be my friend." She grinned, showing a gap where she'd lost a tooth. "That's pretty cool." Harper felt tears prick her eyes, but they were different from the tears she'd cried a year ago. These weren't tears of loss. They were tears of gratitude for this impossible, beautiful second chance. Later that evening, driving home through Charlotte streets, Harper reflected on the journey. She'd learned that motherhood wasn't singular. It could be complex and shared and expressed in different ways. Marissa was Sophia's mother in every way that mattered. The day-to-day love, the scraped knees and bedtime stories, the thousands of small moments that built a childhood. But Harper had given Sophia life. And somehow, through some inexplicable connection, Sophia had remembered. And now Harper got to be part of her story, not as a replacement but as something else entirely. Something undefined, but precious. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marissa. It was a photo from the birthday party, Sophia in the middle, holding Harper's hand on one side, and Marissa's on the other, all three of them laughing. Harper saved the photo and smiled. She'd never gotten the traditional motherhood experience she'd dreamed of, but she'd gotten something else. The knowledge that the child she'd loved enough to let go was thriving, was happy, was somehow still connected to her. And in the end, wasn't that what every mother truly wanted? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible true tales. Do you believe in miracles? I'd love to read your story.